Welcome, everyone, to the Holstein House Podcast. I'm the West Virginia woman, Robin, of RobinHolstein.com and Holstein House, where my guests get a great night's sleep at a fair rate plus breakfast. This is a podcast that looks at society and culture issues affecting families in West Virginia and the United States, from food preparation and storage, gardening, home repairs, current events, and more. We'll go around the table and back in 60 minutes or less. So let's hang out and talk a while. Hi, everybody, and I want to welcome you to this special edition of the Holstein House Broadcast. Today, I am interviewing a young lady from Tennessee who is she's an author, an established author, but she has a new book out, and I wanted to bring her on and share this book with you. Her name is Debbie Adams, and her current book is is your first one the inspiration?
My first book, my first book is Unlocking the Code to Bliss. A Southern Belle Secret.
Sorry.
Yes, that's quite all right. And my current book is Divine Promises, Trusting God's Faithfulness. And
all right.
Yeah, let me put both books up here. Okay, there's the first one. And there's my current one.
Yeah, and I do have that fighting with the space on the screen here. I do have both of those here. Let me share this. This is Debbie's website, Debbie Adams books.biz, and here she shows us the her first book, Divine Promises, and then her next book is Unlocking the Codes to Bliss, a Southern Belle Secrets. And so I was really interested when I saw that, Debbie. I don't think it shared, did it? Oh, well, we'll get that on there and it'll be just fine. I've got my pages too squished up. Mm-hmm. So I tell everybody a little bit. I know you're from Tennessee, and you are you're married. Mm-hmm. for 11 years. Mm-hmm. And just tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
I was born and raised in Middle Tennessee. I'm a country girl. You can probably tell by my country accent, my Southern accent. And I lived on the farm. My parents had a farm out in the country, and I grew up on that and loved every minute of it. I had cows and horses, and I still love horses to this day, and chickens and goats. I do not like goats because I got chased as a child by the goats. But that's the only thing about living on the farm that I don't like now. But I guess that's where my writing books started. I think God started it in my heart way back then. My dad would always take me to the library on Saturday mornings. Sometimes my mom would go, but I think it was mainly my dad. And I would take the books that I got and go up in the barn loft and, read them. And then I started to where I would just write little stories, whatever was in my head. Mm-hmm. And so I was talking to my mom, I guess about a month ago. It was after I had written my second book. And we were talking about how I used to write when I was younger, growing up. And she said that even though, it was just little stories, coming from a child, and, like make-believe stories. And I guess that would be fiction nowadays. And so she said that I wrote the same way back then as I do now. And I didn't decide on a writing style. I think God put it in my heart to how I write. But like I'm talking to you now. That's how I write my books. I want it to be as if I'm talking to the reader. Like when they read the book, it's not just, a lot of information or, this is what happened in my life.
Mm-hmm.
It's, I'm talking to, them like, this is what happened. But, with God by your side, you can also have this peace and joy. That's how I talk. And, I think you're supposed to talk in third person when you actually write a book. But I like to, for people to, feel like they are in my book and they are part of my book and I'm talking to them, because I feel like God has called me to write faith books. And I want everyone to know that God can take care of you no matter what situation you're in. And I think that's why he put that on my heart to write the way I write.
Well, I was going to ask you about that's actually one of the questions I have down is, did you think you have a specific calling to write religious books?
Yes.
And then when did you realize it was a calling?
I have a testimony of faith. And before I wrote my first book, God was speaking to me that I need to share my testimony. And growing up, I was very shy. I guess you would call it introvert. I think that's the word. And I wouldn't talk to you unless I knew you. Like, like I wouldn't be doing this right now, as a teenager. And, I was very shy, and people that know me now that knew me then, they are just amazed at how God has worked in my life, because it's like God gave me my voice. But he told me that I have a testimony, which I do. I went through cancer, and I talk about it in my book. And I am in November, I was 15 years cancer free.
Oh, good.
Thank the Lord. And
yes, amen.
So he had been, telling me I need to, share my testimony. Back then, that was, I guess, maybe 5 or 6 years ago when that started. And I was like, okay. And so I thought, well, I could go talk to different churches. But then I thought, I don't like talking to strangers. And, I was singing in the choir at the time when all this was going on. And, I didn't even like looking out at the audience when the choir was singing special. I would always look, at the choir director. And so, and then fast forward to a couple of years ago, he told me again. And, I kind of put it in the back of my head. And
we do that, don't we? We
hear
him and we're like, no, I don't want to do that.
Yeah. And so, because I kept telling him, no, I can't do that. That's no way I can do that. But, God works everything out. He makes everything, possible. And so he brought it back up and said but this time he said I needed to write a book about my testimony. And so I sat down, wrote my testimony out, put it as an ebook on Amazon. And I thought, okay, I've done it. It's out there, and God said, no, that's not all I want you to do. And so God is just, he knows us better than we know ourselves.
Yeah, he has a plan. We're supposed to do it.
Yeah. He created us, so he knows how our brain works. And so he said, I want you to write a book. And, I've got several friends that are authors, and they've written several books, and I'm always getting their books on Amazon, going to book signings and, all of that. And so I told him, I said, there is no way. I said, I have no idea how to even get started on writing an actual book. I mean, that is completely different than writing down your testimony. It's like, this is what happened. And so I told him, I said, well, okay, I will do it. But you have to show me how I'm supposed to write a book when I have no idea. Well, then COVID started. So I started following this lady on Facebook. A friend of mine found her on Facebook. And back then she was, it was all the COVID political, information. That's what she was talking about. And I found out she had written several books. And so I went to one of her book clubs. She had a book club on Facebook on one of the books that she had written. And so at the end, I didn't know it, but at the end, she was going to have a retreat. She lives in California. She was going to have a retreat for all the people that were in the book club that, wanted to come. And so I had not mentioned anything, about, God wanted me to write a book. So she messaged me and told me, she said, I hadn't even been thinking about going to the retreat. She said, I hope you are planning on coming to my retreat I'm going to have in a few months. And I thought, whoa, okay. And I didn't think nothing about it. I just told her, it's like, yeah, okay, I'll try. And then when she scheduled the retreat, she said the subject she was going to talk about at the retreat was the basics of how to write a book. Mm-hmm. And so I thought, okay, you ask God for something and he will deliver. Yep. And so that's how I got started writing on my first book. And so, it was a 3-day retreat. And, God he really showed up during those 3 days. And first off, I had never been on a plane by myself. It's always been with my husband. And so, I prayed for peace that whole plane ride and, going through airports I'd never been through before. And, our airport here in Nashville, I'd been through it, but, I had to go through the San Diego airport and that was a little different.
That's a lot different.
Yeah, that's a lot different. And so, God gave me peace, that through everything, and I didn't have any problems. And then, she gave me gave us a lot of information. And so then I came back home, and in 2 months I had that book written, and I self-published that one on Amazon. But, and then he told me that I needed to write a book about him. And so this is where Divine Promises, my current book, that's where it came from. And there were probably over 8,000 promises in his word that I haven't counted them, but I'm assuming that many. But I know there are a bunch of them. And so I took the top 10 that I thought applied to each situation in my life. And that's how I came up with the title, Divine Promises. He actually gave me the title. And then I made the subtitle, Trusting God's Faithfulness, because that's what I've done through every circumstance in my life. And, we have to, and, in this journey of life, as I call it in my book, I mean, we have to trust in somebody. And because, we can't trust in ourselves or our friends, because you never know what you're going to get. But I talk about how he took me through my journey of cancer went through cancer, went through treatments. And at the end of my treatments, my husband then decided to leave. So he took me through all of that. Yeah, that was a bad time. Yeah. And then I lost my job at that time. And so I talk about that and how he opened the door at the end of my unemployment was going to run out like on a certain day. And, you're applying for jobs. And I had went on the interview, still hadn't heard anything. And I think my unemployment was going to run out on that Monday. And so the Friday before, I got a phone call. It's like, can you start work on Monday? And, it's like God has perfect timing. Like the song says,
Yes.
he's
Yes.
right on time.
He is. Now you do have a quote out for your book, Divine Promises, that says, "God always walks with us on this road, uh, and when we think we're alone, that could be when God is carrying us." Could you just elaborate on that just a minute? What do you mean by that? What are you trying to tell people when you say that?
Um, when we're going through things, God, we know God is always there,
Hmm.
but there are some things that you might not feel that God is right beside you. Like when I was going through the cancer, and when my husband at that time had left, my heart was broken into pieces. And to be honest, I really couldn't feel God right beside me.
Hmm.
But I mean, because there was a 2-year span that I was in, you go through valleys, you go through you're on
Right.
mountaintop. And I
Right.
went through a valley for like 2 years straight, and where I was beginning to wonder what's coming up next. And it's times like that that God is carrying you. You
Hmm.
don't know how you're going to get through it, but then when you get through it, you look back like I did, and it's like, wow, God was
Hmm.
carrying me. I didn't think that he was even there, but he carried me through it, and I made it. And so that's pretty much what I mean by that quote.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Because there are a lot of times in everyone's life that we get the feeling that we're alone in something, and we're not really. And
Hmm.
it's always encouraging to me, anyway, to hear people say, I was in this particular situation, and I felt so alone, and then you know I prayed. Just
Hmm.
just a simple, even the I just don't know what else to do prayer, you know,
Hmm.
and then figurative scales fall off the eyes, and you see that the Lord is there, and in your spirit you can feel him. And then
Hmm.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, that's I think it happens to a lot of people, but not everybody has um the prompting to write about it. And and writing about these things can be very, I mean, very terrifying. You're exposing some very personal
Hmm.
information when you do that, personal experiences.
Yes. I mean, you're putting yourself out there when you talk about your
Hmm.
personal life, for the world to see. But I don't have a problem with that, because there's nothing in my personal life that
Hmm.
I wouldn't tell somebody face to face.
Hmm.
And because, throughout all of my life, God has been there, and my faith hasn't always been as strong as it is right now.
Hmm.
But, I want people to see that, your faith can be as strong as, you allow it to be, because as long as you trust in God, you know, that's where your faith is going to come from.
Yeah. In the book, Unlocking the Code to Bliss, I was wondering if you could elaborate on your where you say God designed our bodies in such a way that we can do uh, what we need to if we only follow God's design. So,
Yes. That is basically the way I was talking about how God has designed each part of our body, from our
mhm,
hair to our eyes to our
mhm,
brain, and even to our gut. And
mhm.
we've heard the phrase before, you need to have a clean gut. But
Yeah.
in order to do all of that, you have to get your brain to focus on what you need to do in order to, I'm just using the gut as an example,
Sure.
in order to get your gut where it needs to be. Because, your brain is connected to every part of your body. And so if you put stuff in your body that, is going to make your brain say, oh, this isn't the right type of food to have a clean gut, then it's going to do, what it does to destroy or poison. Like in the book, I talk about sugar a lot. I got
Diabetes,
cancer. Yeah, I got cancer on my mind.
Yes.
And so I talk about sugar a lot, and the sugar that you get out of fruits, which I put that in the book, that you can eat, that fruit, any kind of fruit, oranges, grapes, whatever is better for you. But the processed sugar that we get, from the drugs, the grocery store,
Right.
and the Little Debbie cakes, and I grew up eating those.
Oh yes, they are good.
Yeah, they're
very good.
And those are full of processed sugar. And when you put all of that processed sugar in it, it is like poison to your body.
Yep.
And it will make you, extremely tired, low energy, not wanting to do anything. It can put you in a bad mood. At that point, that was during COVID, when, you had to stay home for, not really go to a whole lot of places. And so I was eating all the time, and I was eating all the bad stuff. And so I wanted to get my body and my life in a better shape. And so that's why I talk about a healthy lifestyle. And if we pay attention to how God has created our bodies, then we can do that without actually dieting. We can still eat, which I still eat those sometimes, but we can still eat bad stuff, but we have to go behind it and put in good stuff. Like for your hair, your hair needs sunshine, was vitamin D. And, get out in the sun, even in winter months, walk out in the yard, just, go out, do something to, get exercise, to get energy, to motivate you. And then I also talk about the intermittent fasting, which I've done, and, how that's good for your body. But I talk about how, every single way that God has created our bodies, from the cells in our bodies to the tissues in our bodies. And I did do a little bit of research on that, but and it's been a long time since I went to school. And so, it's, and then I put examples in there, of what I eat, how I eat, how I exercise, and, the fasting that I do, and which, the fasting isn't for everybody, because, if you got some kind of medical problem where, you have to eat every couple of hours, ain't no way you could do that. But, so I'm just going to put a, disclaimer right here that, even though I talk about it, if you're not able to do it, please don't do it,
Do you have a third book in the works? And
Yes.
I think your website says that it's coming in February. Tell us all a little bit about that book.
That book is called Straighten Your Crown. And how that title came about, I was talking to my neighbor, and I think I was going through something. I can't remember what exactly we were talking about, but it was some issue either she was going through or I was going through. And one of us said, just straighten your crown and go on. And, you've heard that phrase before, just get up and, just go on. And so, I didn't think much about it. And then I knew God wanted me to write a third book. And so I got to thinking about a title, and I was like, okay. So I started praying, and I was like, I need to have a title before I can, get the direction on chapter titles and stuff like that. And so he brought that back to my mind, that way, how we were talking about that. And so I thought, okay, straighten your crown. And then I got to, thinking about it, and I'm like, yeah, that is a good title, because it's not the crown on your head, it's the crown in your heart.
Right.
And it's how your heart is how you will deal with things that go on in your life. And so that's how that came up. And it's going to be straighten your crown, navigating life's challenges with grace.
Oh, it sounds good.
Yes. And so it's supposed to come out sometime in February. But with the Christmas holidays and I got kind of, you're super busy during that time.
Yes. Yes.
So I'm trying my best to get it finished by February, but if not, it will be in March, but hopefully it will be in February. And so, that's how that came out, because I think a lot of times people will, like when somebody is being grouchy towards you, when you're in a good mood, you're talking to them, trying to carry on conversation, and they'll just snap right back at you because maybe they're not feeling good or whatever. And our common reaction is to snap right back at them. And that's a lot of what that book is about. It's about our heart. It's like how our heart is how we're going to react to things in our life. Yeah. And as long as our heart is, geared toward heaven and God, God will give us, the words that we need to say for, in a situation like that, or, other situations in life. And that's what I talk about, about your heart, about keeping a positive attitude and, things like that.
Well, I tell you, all three books sound great to me, and I really want to encourage people to go to your website. Now, your website is actually debbieadamsbooks.biz, isn't it? Yeah. And so can you get all three books there, or?
Right. Yes. When the other one gets launched on Amazon, you can go to my website, because I have links already for the other two books, and it's got an order link, and it will take you directly to Amazon.
Okay. So and we'll share the links to those to the ones that are currently out, and to Debbie's website in the comments, in the description when we get this up. But so I tell you, it's really been good talking to you. They really sound great. I know we've got some windstorms, and I know you guys do too. So we'll start wrapping this up. But tell folks just a little bit more about the books, the prices, where I know you said they're on Amazon, if they're anywhere else, and how they can connect with you.
They can connect with me on my website, and I'll give that again. That's debbieadamsbooks.biz. And when you go to my website, you'll see a little banner at the top. Anyone that connects with me, I will email them a small gift, and it's going to be one of my blogs. I've written a number of little short blogs, and I've never published them. And so I have a little box on my website that says connect with me, and you just put in your email address and your name, and then I will automatically get a notification in my email that somebody wants to connect. And my books are on Amazon. The second book is on every online bookstore, and it's even in Canada at Chapters. But my first book is only on Amazon, because I self-published it. And then my second book, I went through a publisher to do it. So that's why it's a lot of other places. And my Divine Promises also has an audiobook. So it's in all three formats. And I think Amazon right now has the prices for, I think, $8.99 for unlocking the code, and I think $11.99 for Divine Promises. They,
Okay.
Amazon goes in and changes them according, to, because they changed them during Christmas. And then, they changed them back, but it's still on sale. So.
Well, it's really been great having you here, and I wish you the best of luck, and we'll keep in contact because I really want to talk to you again when the next book comes out.
Okay, that sounds great.
Great. So there you have it. Post your comments, do all that boosting, liking, sharing, thumbs up, and stuff that helps spread the word and poke the algorithms. Follow me on most of the big social media platforms and look for my name, Robin Holstein, or Holstein House. Till next time, bye-bye.